This just in. Reading the Lord of the Rings books makes you a right-wing extremist. Apparently. I wish this was a joke, but this is an actual headline. People are actually for real right now. This is how crazy the woke side has gotten. I don't know if this is because of all the backlash from Rings of Power or whatever it may be, but this is what they try to do. They want to replace classic work, right? They want to replace classic, timeless pieces of art. And they want to just shove their message in it, and they want to erase what existed before it. So they're literally just waltzing in and trying to kick out anybody else who previously enjoyed it. This happens with so many freaking things. Tomb Raider also. But now, this is how it always starts too. It's like, oh, we want in on this. We want in on this fandom. Come on. Let us in. Welcome us. Don't be a gatekeeper. And then, you know, people go, okay, sure, why not? We can have more people in our hobby. Great. The more the merrier, right? Then they waltz in there, change everything or insist everything be changed. And then they go so far as to kick the other people out and say, you know what? Actually, you guys are awful. You guys are bigots. You guys are this or that or the other. This is the best way. What we're doing is the best way. This is it. Just forget about the past because, you know, we're in 2023. It's all about the modern audience now. Apparently, the modern audience is retarded. All right, so let's go ahead and continue with reading this. Reading The Lord of the Rings and 1984 could lead to right-wing extremism. Okay. Apparently, an actual report warned this. This kind of stuff just... We're in clown world. Author Douglas Murray published a scathing review of the British government's counter-terrorism prevent program, which has apparently reported that authors like George Orwell, J.R.R. Tolkien, and C.S. Lewis can radicalize readers. This is the thing about how things are seeping into entertainment. It's like the wokies, they insist on inserting their ideologies into everything entertainment. And it's odd. But this is just so telling on how this is just another method of them to force their ideologies on people is through entertainment and to try to indoctrinate people through it. And then to call anybody who doesn't like it a bigot, and anybody who likes the old stuff is a bigot too, apparently. In his column, Murray describes how Britain's Prevent program was founded to support counterterrorism efforts, but has gradually swayed into a focus on only extremists from Islam and far-right ideological mindsets. He evidenced this claim by citing that Prevent was consulted by activist groups such as Hope, Not Hate, which he argues believes that people who voted for Brexit and are against illegal immigrants are far right. He further noted that Prevent's Research, Information, and Communications Unit, RICU, has previously listed historical texts as red flags. Essentially, if someone is reading 1984 or the works by Lewis, Tolkien, Aldous Huxley, or Joseph Conrad, they should be suspected of being far-right extremist terrorists. Murray's own book was on the list. Wow. I really want to know what they think of Gary Neurotic. Really want to know what they think of him being such a huge, massive Lord of the Rings fan that he is, especially, like, you know, with the books and all. Like, me, I'm a Lord of the Rings fan, but I'm just going to be honest. I'm a Peter Jackson trilogy Lord of the Rings fan, so I guess I'm only slightly bigoted. But I'm going to read the books. This makes me want to read the books. Let's go. Prevent was founded in 2019 and is reviewed annually. The purpose of the review is to consider Britain's strategy for protecting people vulnerable to being drawn into terrorism and to make recommendations based on the findings. why are they changing words so much? Why are they so making light of big words, man? These are big things, dude. To call someone, I mean, first of all, calling someone a bigot over most of the time, 99.99% of the time they call someone a bigot, it is being misused. They completely took away the impact that word had, and the meaning behind it is just like, oh, whatever. It just means, oh, you don't agree with me, so you're a bigot. Oh, that just means I don't like you now. Same with Nazi, same with Hitler, same with, let's see who else, or what else. I mean, a number of things, right? Or just racist, sexist, all that sort of things, right? Don't mean anything no more. In the review itself, written by William Shawcross, he notes that while the boundaries for extremist Islamist ideology are too narrow, boundaries around the idea of extreme right-wing ideology are too broad. This apparently hinders Prevent from effectively dealing with the risk posed by this mindset. But doesn't it also ignore a whole other ideological spectrum of extremist far left ideologies too? Ooh, interesting. In fact, Shawcross barely makes mention of left-wing ideologies throughout the entire report. He doesn't mention communism. He doesn't mention China nor Russia. While I can't imagine my friends back in the UK being recruited into a Chinese terror operation, I do fear for the nation's collapse into public assaults like those hosted by activist group Extinction Rebellion. Dude, the activist in quotation so accurately describes so many activists nowadays, especially Twitter activists, because my goodness. You want to talk about people who are giant bullies. It's people who have mental health advocate in their bio. It's people who act like they're activists or Twitter activists or they want to be activists. They are some of the most hateful people imaginable. You cannot have a different stance than them, no matter how nuanced it is, without them demonizing you and wanting to ruin your entire life. Imagine that. How fragile do you have to be to where if some people on the internet or in real life disagree with you, you hope that their lives are ruined. You hope their livelihoods don't exist. You want to see them on the streets homeless. What kind of monster are you, freaking moron? Okay. So I do not think that Extinction Rebellion is a terrorist group, but I think they actively campaign for disruption in a very different way to individuals quietly reading the classics. Okay. Thank goodness this was written by someone with some sort of common sense, because I was wondering, I was like, oh no. I was even nearly dragged into that crazy crew of idiots who glue themselves to artwork, but thankfully I've never been one for group activities. I don't know what that's about. That sounds pretty crazy. What concerns me more is the fact that my government has clearly chosen good guys and bad guys and is ignoring those screaming that they may temporarily shift away from public disruption as a primary tactic. They're not giving up until their unattainable goals are met. And even if their goals are met, they'll starve to death shortly thereafter. A report from The Guardian in 2016 said that Home Office's Research, Information and Communications Unit was modeled after a propaganda unit founded in 1948. The Information Research Department, okay, was shut down, all this stuff, money flowing through, blah, blah, blah. All right, well, I'm telling you though, the craziness just never freaking ceases to surprise me. And the fact that they come for entertainment so much is just odd to me. But you see this extremism. I mean, I'm not going to say it's only this kind of extreme is only from wokies. Right now, it mostly is. But I mean, a lot of us remember back in the day how many people demonized Harry Potter, and they were more on the conservative side, for example, or Christian side. And I'm a Christian. My stance on that kind of thing has always been, hey, if you feel convicted playing something or watching something like that or reading or whatever, then don't do it. But I think to kind of dictate what other people do, that's where it's that's where I don't quite like it. I think there's bigger fish to fry in the world than to be concerned if somebody is enjoying Harry Potter. This goes for any side who's hating on it. Like, focus on yourself in terms of what entertainment you're going to consume. But if they enjoy reading or watching wizards, I mean, come on, get a grip. Now, this reminds me too of this too, because like I said, the extreme sides don't only come from one angle right here. This is where Sophia Narwitz shared this article that said satanic video game allows players to activate blood altars and sacrifice friends to demons. Satanic subliminal messages in video games are no longer hidden. They are out in the open. Video game news site Push Square reported a new game called Deceit 2 will allow players to sacrifice their friends to demons and activate blood altars in order to tear down the veil of reality. The new game is being categorized as a social survivor horror game and will be available for both PS5 and PS4. And I quote tweeted this last night, and I said, I'm a Christian, and in Fable 3, I grabbed the dude NPC by the hand and lured him to the dark sanctum where I sacrificed him. Video games aren't real life, LOL. And that's my take on everything like this. Like I said earlier, if someone were to feel convicted and I'm not going to claim I have all the knowledge on this. I'm not going to claim I'm like right on and everybody who disagrees is invalid. I'm not claiming that, but I think some people take things a bit too far. Okay, I could see how someone might not want to play a game like this. This might go against their own convictions, their own religious convictions, or any other convictions they may have. And hey, that's fine, then don't do it. But to me, video games are escape. They're not reality. If you look at games like Devil May Cry, Doom, all that kind of stuff, these aren't actual demons. It's like they're fictional. It's not real. It doesn't have, at least from my perspective, it doesn't actually feel like there's real demonic undertones. It's just like a demon in a video game is more often than not, and in any case I can think of, I can't even think of an exception to this, is a demon in a video game is like an elf, all right? Like an elf or a wizard or a fairy or a mermaid. It's a fictional creature. They're not actual depictions of actual demons. Okay? And so I'm not saying that Satan and demons and all that couldn't use video games to tempt people and harm people or like that sort of thing, mentally, spiritually, all that kind of stuff. So we do need to be careful about what kind of entertainment we consume and what that's doing to us spiritually. If you are a Christian, like, hey, is this leading you to any type of temptation? But to me, I'm not being led to any sort of temptation when I'm playing a video game and I'm sacrificing, Goat Simulator or whatever it may be, and I'm sacrificing people, animals, whatever it is, on some fictional altar for the lulz, okay? I will admit, when I play games that give you the option, I'm very evil in games. I always preferred playing the dark route, because it's like, dude, in real life, I'm a Bible-believing Christian. I'm following the Bible, like, to the, I'm not one of those that just, I'm a Christian and anything goes. Like, I actually read my Bible every single day, and I actually apply it to my life, right? And I'm actually living my life in a way that I'm turning from sin, man. I turn from sin. I do not make a habit of sinning. Like, obviously everyone's gonna fall short and mess up sometimes, but just saying, like, my principles are very strong here. But I don't feel convicted playing such games as like Fable 3 or whatever, personally. So that's just me. But I'm not, but I will, and this comes with an argument, because a lot of people will say, because typically what you see with Christians a lot is that a lot of Christians don't like entertainment that, think of movies, TV shows, or I've even talked about this in the past, is that I don't watch extremely sexually gratuitous stuff. Like if a TV show or a movie has like sex scenes in it, I'm just tuned out. I don't like it. I'm not into it. And then people will say, well, how come you're fine with that, but you're not fine with that, but you're okay with violence, extreme violence? Because a lot of, I do watch a lot of stuff with a lot of violence in it, or whatever, or horror, or whatever it may be. And my answer to that is that if something is leading you to sin or tempting you to sin or something like that, then that's where I draw the line. And if something is going to be, you typically, if you're watching something more sexual in nature, I feel personally you're going to more likely be tempted or have thoughts of lust or this or that with something like that, versus if you're watching something violent, it doesn't make people want to be violent. You know what I mean? It doesn't have the same effect. It doesn't have this, a violent, super violent thing. It does nothing. No, it is not tempting to me in any way whatsoever. So the difference here is that when it comes to something being gratuitously sexual, it's either just grosses me out, or because I don't want to watch other people do that kind of stuff, or I don't want to put myself in a situation where I'm going to be tempted into lust. So that's the difference for me as a Christian, and where my stance is there. Now, I do think that it is valid. Somebody brought this up on Twitter when I talked about watching I watched some like horror movies with my family, and I got extremely scared. And someone's like, well, don't you think, I mean, like, where's your stance on that as a Christian? Don't you think that's kind of wrong to watch those things? And on one hand, I will say, I think that's more of a gray area one, because most horror movies, I'm fine. I can watch them and sleep like a baby these days. Now, used to, that wasn't the case, but now it is. Or video games or whatever. I don't really, it's fun, and I'll feel scared watching it a little bit, like as in an edge of your seat and kind of scared watching it, but I'm not up, not sleeping and all this stuff. But then when I thought about the last time I watched the movie Us, I don't know if that even scared people as much as it did me. For some reason, that scared the crap out of me, and I was struggling to sleep. I had to have my lights on and all this kind of stuff, and I just thought, oh, wait a minute, that they actually made a fair point in bringing this up, because the person on Twitter, because this is giving me big time fear, and fear doesn't come from God. So I can somewhat understand that. But even so, these are personal conviction type things. Focus on yourself. But you see, like, there's extremes on both sides of people trying to dictate what other people do with their lives. And that's where I think, okay, wait a minute, take a step back. We shouldn't be doing that. But in this case, like with more of, it's to the point to where, dude, you can't even read a Lord of the Rings book. Come on now. With the woke side, it's just ridiculous. But I think that there's definitely extremes on more than one side. I'm not even gonna lie. The Bible even talks about Pharisees. So speaking of like Christian and all that kind of stuff, just because somebody says they're a Christian, hey, it doesn't mean that they're going to. First of all, it doesn't mean they even are. If they just say they are, you'll know by their fruits, is what the Bible tells us. But even beyond that, that's not my place to be saying, oh, this person's a Christian, this person's not a Christian, or whatever. I'll speak on the Bible and what the Bible says, but I'm not just going to be looking at people individually and say, you're not a real Christian, you're not like that. That's not my job to do. Okay. That's just not it. But I do, as you guys see, regularly will speak out against sin, against all kinds of stuff. Like, I don't like progressive Christianity, for example, because that's more of an anything goes, it's anti-biblical, all that kind of stuff. So you bet your britches I'm gonna call that out. And you bet your britches I'm gonna call out these false prophets who are straight up leading people and sheep to the slaughter, who are just straight up like preaching this, do whatever you want, you can still go to heaven type thing. Like, all you got to do is say one little prayer and you're good to go for life. You can live a lifestyle of sin. That's okay. Like, no, that's not okay. And I will speak out against people like that. But whatever someone does in their own personal life, whatever games they play, whatever entertainment they watch, that ain't none of my business. It just ain't. Unless I'm like super close to somebody, then, like a family member or something like that, then I might be like, If they're just like really into some crazy stuff, right, then I might be like, don't you think that's a little unhealthy? And then leave it at that. It's their decision. But anyway, that's it. I'm kind of rambling. But that's it for today's video. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I am going to be spending the weekend with my family, so streams and videos will return on Monday. So thank you all so much. This is the day of me recording this on. I'm posting this on March 3rd. 2023. But anyway, thank you again for hanging out. I'll catch you next time. In the meantime, go boom. I won't obey you.